To achieve maximum impact with every Elder Scrolls title release, Todd Howard describes each entry in the series as its own fresh start. The studio constantly maximizes its hardware. In Oblivion's case, the team even went as far as pushing a demo rig to the point of melting. But more on that later. With Bethesda purchasing several licenses to the Gamebryo ecosystem, including a license allowing the team to port Oblivion to the PS3, CEO of parent company Emergent proudly stated that, quote, "It's gratifying to see Gamebryo being used by such exceptional craftspeople to create amazing gaming experiences like Oblivion on every major platform." Released only 3 years after Morrowind, Todd Howard describes Morrowind's sequel as a fresh start for the series. Quote, "The key to each Elder Scrolls title is reinvention. We actually start over each time. This takes a while, but we feel it's essential to the series and its popularity over that decade. So, with Oblivion, we wanted to start fresh. We wanted to create for a whole new generation a game that captures those things that excite people about role-playing games in the first place." Grab a sweet roll, sit back, relax. You're watching The Yeti Den. If you like this video, I invite you to subscribe. If you'd like to watch more Bethesda content like this, please consider leaving a like. Or if you have some thoughts to share, please comment below. I'd love to hear from you because today we are nerding out about the evolution of the creation engine. And if you have no idea what that system is or how it creates immersive gameplay, then we got you covered. Oblivion rules.
So the Elder Scrolls is our role-playing series that we've been doing since 1994, and with each game we have started over and tried to do something very, very new. Each of them we try to, for that generation of hardware and game playing folks, create what we think is the quintessential role-playing game.
Todd describes the package of software used to build Oblivion's features as, quote, "A new piece of technology with lots of feedback and lessons learned from previous games implemented." Todd describes the Oblivion system as pixel shader heavy while working in several middleware packages like Havok and Gamebryo.
The key to each Elder Scrolls title is reinvention. We actually start over each time.
Howard reaches Oblivion's level of graphic fidelity via normal maps for lighting, diffuse maps for color, specular maps for shininess, and parallax maps for geometry detail.
We built Oblivion from day one to be a next-generation game for both the PC and the Xbox 360. We've always tried to make our worlds come alive visually, but Oblivion takes this to new levels.
With the help of Havok physics engine, the developers generated real force in the game. While improving their lighting system with real-time shadows, the team implemented new gameplay systems like stealth and a complete NPC overhaul.
We use several types of texturing on every surface: diffuse maps, specular maps, normal maps, and parallax maps. All of these together on a next-gen GPU create some unparalleled visuals. This is all rendering in real-time, true HD. Real-world physics through dynamic, soft shadows.
You. I've seen you. Let me see your face.
Patrick Stewart. This is the unedited stuff.
Generals and kings have knelt at my command.
That's such a cheesy line. That sounds good when he says it.
They even managed to add in fully voiced NPCs, like a warm gummy bear in his pocket and a true Trekkie.
I don't have a picture of my wife in my wallet right now, but I've got Patrick Stewart in my wallet.
It's my wife and I with Patrick Stewart, who's equally as good.
With world-class voice acting and revolutionary AI, Oblivion's grand open-ended gameplay design supports the ultimate traditional fantasy setting. A fan of console gaming, Todd was eager to make an impact on the console market as well as Bethesda's home base of PC gamers.
We haven't seen it on a freaking movie screen, so we have no idea how it's gonna look. Well, we know it looks really good on a 61-inch TV, but on a movie screen. But if it looks as good as we know it can, and if it's and if the response is really awesome, I think it'll probably maybe the greatest professional moment of my life.
Todd explains, quote, "The Elder Scrolls is our role-playing series that we've been doing since 1994, and with each game, we have started over and over and tried to do something very, very new. Each of them we try to, for that generation of hardware and game-playing folks, create what we think is the quintessential role-playing game." End quote. Bethesda, being a close partner with Microsoft's Xbox gaming division, could provide Oblivion, which would serve as an important title for the Xbox's second console, Xbox 360. Missing the launch window by a few months, Oblivion eventually became a system seller for the 360. Games journalist Matt Burtz recounts Oblivion's crucial rise for the console ecosystem. Quote, "The Xbox 360 launched in November 2005 with a handful of titles. It wasn't till The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion released in the following March that gamers truly understood the power of next-generation consoles." At the time of Oblivion's release, the Lord of the Rings cinematic trilogy was in full swing. Complete with furry hobbit feet and Liv Tyler's angelic gaze, the first film in the trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, released on December 19th, 2001. The final film concluded the trilogy on December 17th, 2003. Imagine the hype coursing through the veins of LOTR fans when Oblivion's lush forest environment, akin to the Jackson trilogy's stunning New Zealand vistas. The Xbox 360 delivered Oblivion's lush greenery and fantasy goodness in stunning detail, perfect for a hobbit's nap or a second breakfast. Unfortunately for my fellow Goth lords, Daedric princes, and servants of Dagothr, Oblivion opted for a brighter, warmer environment in contrast to Morrowind's Dune-esque inspiration that produced such otherworldly results. GameBase's Gamebryo engine, like its predecessor, Netimmerse, became a toolset adopted by more than 400 published games. Several classic games were built on the Gamebryo engine: Sid Meier's Pirates, Civilization 4, Bully Scholarship Edition, Divinity 2, Catherine, Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, and of course, Oblivion. Like its predecessor, Oblivion was a stunning graphical marvel. In addition to Gamebryo's offerings, Bethesda built a brand new combat engine and modeled over 9,000 objects.
We're striving for that true kinetic feeling of guys bashing each other with swords. Little blood never hurts either.
Todd Howard and co. sought to create a visually immersive world. In an Oblivion gameplay reveal, Todd Howard introduces the technical leaps, allowing for more immersion in the land of Tamriel. I'd occasionally gain access to game industry news magazines in office lobbies and bookstores. That was my way of connecting with Morrowind's sequel, Oblivion. I vividly remember reading about the award-winning tech, SpeedTreeRT, that powered Oblivion. The article detailed Oblivion's premier tree and foliage tech. I also want to say that there was a bit about horses in there as well. Does that ring a bell? I'd love to find that magazine again.
This was not possible in a previous generation. All of this is being generated in real time by the game. Our forests are not hand-placed by an artist.
In order to create the realistic, lush-looking forest environment, the team studied geology at the University of Maryland to understand, quote, how soil erodes, how rocks form, and how trees grow. They also challenged themselves to generate real forests generated in real time.
Yeah, the forest stuff for us has always been the kind of rendering-wise the craziest thing that we trying to do, and the thing that also has the biggest visual impact of the game. People see it, wow, I've never seen that before.
Oblivion's Tolkien-esque fantasy setting meant to transport players into a world capable of vast depth and total immersion.
Usually when building a scene like this, I start out by placing the rocks. I sort of look at the lay of the land, which is generated first, and then I try and pick out spots where a rock might naturally occur. I've got this big one here. So I would just take a big rock like this and plop it down, sink it to an appropriate height, and then I'll go and add like little satellite rocks around it to try and create a feel that there's some natural erosion going on.
The imperial city Cyrodiil and capital province of Tamriel host players in a region 16 square miles and a half long and filled with procedurally generated forest. The forests offer the player an option to hunt deer, gain stat boosts for meals, and brew potions with foraged ingredients. The Oblivion experience expands on the simulation components of its predecessors. Beyond the forest integration into the gameplay, the world of Oblivion features 9 main cities, dozens of smaller settlements, and over 1,000 NPCs. Todd & Co. sought to develop Radiant AI into a truly remarkable NPC experience.
I think the big thing is the AI we have in the game. We designed this system, Radiant AI, that allows the people in the world to react really intelligently, and they sort of have their own goals, so they can look at their environment around them and decide how they want to accomplish them.
Our NPCs exist no matter if you're there or not. They're doing what they're supposed to do. You can send a guy off to a dungeon to kill stuff, and you don't have to go with him. You go back to that dungeon, either he'll be dead or the things that he was supposed to kill will be dead. I mean, it will have happened whether you were there or not.
Like this guy, I can basically go up to him and say hi to him, and he'll greet me. He'll chat with me. His aggression is like a 5. I'm gonna give him a higher aggression. So now he really hates my guts. He tremendously hates my guts. So we're gonna move over here, and he's immediately gonna go combat with me. The guy behind him's a guard. So he committed a crime by attacking me. So the guard will attack him. These other guys are just trying to stay away. So eventually he figures out the guard is a much dangerous target than I am, because I haven't struck him once, so he'll fight the guard. But the good guard saved me, kept me from getting killed.
The team created a rating system that allows NPCs to have fully 24/7 schedules. The NPCs are unscripted with assigned general goals. The developers give the NPCs the opportunity to figure out how to accomplish those goals. Todd details the Radiant system. Quote, "We designed the system, Radiant AI, that allows the people in the world to react really intelligently, and they sort of have their own goal, so they can look at their environment around them and decide how they want to accomplish them. Our NPCs exist no matter if you're there or not," end quote.
Over 1,000 NPCs live in Oblivion, all with their own schedules and jobs. Cities are a great place to start a lot of your quests. Each city has its own unique shops, good for trading, breaking into at night, making it your own.
Good morning.
The NPCs also have dynamic conversations. These are based on your actions and what's going on in the world. It's a great way to pick up info.
Nilos, hello. Good to see you, Maris. What news have you heard?
The Radiant AI system created such industrial NPCs that caused several bugs, including one where Todd describes a particularly free-minded NPC.
One of the initial things we had was we turned it on so the guys could all do their stuff, and some guy went around town, some NPC you couldn't even see, went around town and bought all the armor. So when you went to the stores, there was nothing for you to buy. It's like a ship that's bringing all these water leaks, and we're constantly filling them up. Did you realize the player can easily steal a horse, ride it to this guy's place, leave it in his house, and steal all his money when the other guy goes out and tries to ride the horse, and hilarity ensues.
Todd Howard, in addressing the combat system, said, quote, "We've created an all-new combat engine that combines melee defense and magic into one system. The game has over 200 dungeons, all handcrafted."
Magic, melee, and defense all come together.
Todd felt it important to abandon one of Morrowind's combat quirks, the dice roll sword swings. Look, a true Elder Scrolls kid at heart does not mind grinding our way through swinging and missing. It builds character. It's the gaming equivalent of telling a kid, when I was your age, I had to take the long way round, or find a Silt Rider if I was lucky, maybe catch a ride from the Mages Guild, or find a Dunmar stronghold, or create a mark and recall spell. I couldn't just click a button and fast travel there. The work is actually kind of fun, but I get it. Not everyone enjoys that kind of action, and Oblivion is designed to bring in the next generation. Howard recalls that, quote, "Many people played Morrowind and said, why is my character missing when he swings if the enemy is right there?" End quote. For those who were hoping that the combat system would evolve into less of a traditional RPG mechanic, they were rewarded. Todd assured fans, quote, "If you swing your sword and hit a guy, you will hit him. The change comes in the damage you do. So now your stats determine how much damage was delivered, as opposed to if you hit or not," end quote.
This is your journal. You probably didn't even notice the RPG system underneath until I pulled this up, and that's intentional. Your character simply improves as you play, getting better at the things you actually do. There are no experience points. Not all characters are sword-wielding, magic-casting battle mages. Some rely on stealth. Real-world physics stick these arrows into the correct surfaces, and not into others. They'll bounce off stone, stick in wood, stick in flesh if you choose. You can even pick them back up, and the physics reacts accordingly.
Lead artist and designer on Oblivion, Todd Broadwater, describes the dungeon and level design process.
This is basically showing an overview of what you'd expect a dungeon level to look like. So they're built on a grid system, said that they have an exact fit and match, and you won't see any seams.
Quote, "It's a lot like a Lego set in the way, except, far more complex and detailed. And then before you know it, you have this world that you created in your own mind that you can sort of experience and feel the atmosphere and sort of the dread and the scariness of it," end quote. Developer Joel Burgess says, quote, "When I first joined Bethesda, Oblivion was poised for the home stretch of its development cycle. Oblivion was of similar scope to Skyrim, yet built by a team of about half the size. One of the ways the dungeon art team coped with this disparity was to create a number of warehouse cells in the editor. These warehouses contained fully lit and cluttered rooms to copy, paste, and then arrange to create, air quotes, new dungeons. While efficient, this method left much to be desired, and many players rightfully called Oblivion dungeons out as being cookie cutter." Another developer, Jonah Lobe, has said about dungeons that, quote, "Even after Bethesda hired their first 2 level designers, it was clear that nobody on the team really knew how to use them. So they had to prove themselves and show everybody on the team what exactly a level designer could do." Another quote by Joel Burgess, quote, "I'm sitting there, Jeff and I are like, undertasked because nobody knows what to do with us."
And they're like, "Jeff, you want to make a dungeon?" And so Jeff and I sat down and we made this dungeon with this story and da-da-da. And the Mayron's Razor DLC for Oblivion was Jeff and me. As far as like the dev team, that was it. Us and the QA team that brought that thing home. No dialogue, no new code, all existing stuff. And I remember like players getting annoyed because they were like, "This DLC costs whatever it cost, $7.99 or $4.99, and like it's under a meg." I'm like, "Yeah, it's under a meg. It's under a meg because we know how to like use the data. It's not about raw assets." And I think Mayron's Razor was the thing that was like, oh, if we have level designers who approach player experience creation this way, we can release a DLC that makes, 6 figures in 24 hours for the company. Why don't we do that more?
Pushing the technology to its absolute limit is kind of Bethesda's MO. Todd tells his team, quote,
So you guys know our demo machine melted last night? The motherboard's dead?
We're never really sure. Could have been a defective motherboard. We could have just been putting too much into it. We weren't overclocking it at all. So I checked out. We're sending it back to the manufacturer, Asus, and they're going to send us a new one.
So right now we have the code changing, we have the data changing, and now our hardware is changing. So the triumvirate of things changing is bad. Better now than next week.
Normally, it'll crash to the Windows desktop, and you just start it back up and play it again. Well, this crashed in such a way that they actually had to completely power off the machine and restart it. This happened several times throughout the day. And finally, on that last one, it just didn't come back on.
In many ways, Oblivion was a smash success for both Bethesda and Microsoft. Ranking as the second highest selling title on the Xbox, Oblivion delivered on Todd's dream of creating a Bethesda-style RPG that was tailored to fit into Microsoft's home console. It would lead the team into their next several RPGs, creating a blueprint to consider while developing even newer technology. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video on Gamebryo and Oblivion. If you want to get more content like this, check out our video on Morrowind and the Netimmerse graphics engine. I'm doing a small series on the evolution of the creation engine, so stay tuned for more videos on it. I will see you next time. This has been the Yeti Den. Bye.